Namaste Dosto! Welcome to Desified Dish. My name is Reiko. This is the generic intro for some of my pre-YouTube videos, so take it away, past Reiko. So it is a lovely day here in Melbourne, so I thought I'm going to treat myself to a nice lunch. I'm going to be making something I've not made before, Lauki Thepla. So Lauki is a Hindi word which means bottle gourd, and Thepla is a specifically Gujarati dish which is kind of similar to paratha, but then it's also quite different. One of the big things that stands out for me is that you actually mix yogurt into the dough. It should hopefully give it a slightly sour taste, but also make the dough like super soft as well. And they're usually also rolled out really thin too. So follow on to see how it goes, but first things first, let's go through those ingredients. All right, so we're going to need, see what I did there, 1 3/4 cups of atta. So I'm using multigrain atta, which already has besan in it, but if you were using normal atta, then you would want to do 1.5 cups and add 1/8 of a cup of besan. I'm going to need 1/2 cup of grated lauki, so this is going to need to be finely grated. 1/4 teaspoon of ajwain, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1/2 tablespoon of white sesame seeds, 1 teaspoon of Dhana Jiru. Oh, this is empty. Okay. I've never made this before. So this is a Gujarati ingredient. It's common in quite a few dishes. I actually don't have any, so I'm going to make some. Now, of course, I could just go ahead and use cumin powder and coriander powder and be done with it, but you know me. I don't do things easy. So we're also going to make some Dhana Jiru. I'm going to fill this glass. So for that, apart from cumin seeds, I'm also going to need coriander seeds as well. So I'm going to need 1/2 cup of coriander seeds and 1/4 cup of cumin seeds. 1 teaspoon of red chili powder. So you know this one's going to be decently spicy. 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. 1.5 tablespoons of oil. I'm just using canola oil, but any sort of flavorless oil will work fine. 3/4 tablespoon of jaggery. Some minced garlic, so I'm going to use fresh garlic and mince it, so we're going to need 1/2 tablespoon. And we're going to need 1/2 teaspoon of minced ginger. And I'm also going to be adding in 1 green chili, which I'm going to finely chop. And then we're also going to need 1/8 cup of yogurt, as well as some extra oil for the cooking. So cue the music, let's get cooking. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to set my heat to medium-low and then add a small frying pan. Now I'm going to add my coriander seeds. I'm going to cook these first because they're more likely to burn. So I'm just going to mix these around to make sure that they get evenly cooked, and we're just looking for a slightly golden color. And then after that happens, I'll take them off the heat and just add them onto a waiting plate. Now I'm going to add in the cumin seeds. These are a little bit more forgiving. You're less likely to burn them, so same thing, just moving them around to make sure they get evenly brown. They will smoke a little bit, as you can see, but it's nothing to worry about. We're just waiting to get that nice sort of fragrance happening. Alright, that's looking nicely toasted, so I'll go ahead and add that to my waiting plate. You can join those coriander seeds, and we'll turn off the heat, and we're going to let these cool down for probably about 5 to 10 minutes before we grind them. So over to my bench, I'm going to go ahead and add all of the seeds, now that they're nicely cool, into my spice grinder. This is actually a coffee grinder, but I don't drink coffee. It though does make a perfect tool for grinding spices and making masala powders. Alright, we've got a good grind on that one. So let's go ahead and add it into our waiting jar, which I already prepared a label for. This should keep fresh for about 3 months or so, but after that it will start to degrade in flavor. Now onto my lauki. I'm going to take a peeler and firstly just peel off the skin. Now we have a naked lauki. Now over to my cutting board, I'm going to use my knife to remove the skin from my 2 garlic cloves. Then taking a small peeler, I'm going to remove the skin from the ginger. Now onto my chili, I'm just going to cut the end off and then cut this into quarters and then cut it really finely. Then onto my garlic crush, I'll add in my 2 naked garlic cloves and crush them onto that same little plate that I put my chilies into. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with the ginger. These little dishes are a really nice little thing for prepping ingredients on. They actually came from one of my favorite Malaysian restaurants when they closed down, so it's a nice little memory of the place. And now on to my Lauki. I'm going to take a box grater and we'll grate this really finely. We want a nice fine grain to make sure we don't have issues trying to roll the Thepla later on. Now to my bread mixing bowl, I'm going to add my 1 3/4 cups of multigrain atta. Then to this I'm going to add my grated Lauki. Now to add in the spices, so half a teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1/4 teaspoon of ajwain and half a tablespoon of white sesame seeds. And now the ground spices, 1 teaspoon of Dhana Jiru, 1 teaspoon of red chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 tablespoon of jaggery. Now we'll add the ginger, garlic, and green chilies. 1½ tablespoons of oil, and lastly 1/8 cup of yogurt. Now we're going to get our hands dirty, so I'm just going to start by removing my rings and we're going to get to kneading. Let's get in there. So using my hands, I'm just going to bring all the ingredients together. So with this you shouldn't need, how many times am I going to make that joke, any extra water here because there's already plenty in the ingredients we've got. Now that it's brought together, I'm going to go ahead and start to knead the dough until I get a nice soft dough ball. Alright, so it's very sticky because of all of the ingredients in this, so I'm going to add a little bit of oil to my hands and then just cover the outside in oil so it doesn't get too stuck to our ball as the dough is resting. Hide the dough away under a tea towel because it's a little bit shy, and we're going to leave them for 20 minutes. See you soon! Nap time is over! Wake up there, little buddy. Time to get rolling. Before I start rolling, I'm just going to heat up my tawa, so set this to medium-high and place it down. I got out my bamboo breadboard, so I'm now going to add my dough, give it a bit of a roll around, form it into a log, and then from there start forming little babies. In my case, I made 10 little dough balls. Now I'll add some dusting flour to my board and let's get rolling these guys out. I'm going to take a dough ball and then I'm going to flatten it into the flour and then make sure it's coated from both sides so it doesn't stick, and flatten it out as much as I can with the palm of my hand. And once I'm happy that that's pretty flat, I'll then grab my rolling pin and I'll start rolling it out. And in this case we want to get it pretty thin. As you're rolling, you might need to add some additional dusting flour just to make sure it doesn't stick to the board as you roll it out. Alright, we've got one done. I'm going to go ahead and roll a second, and I'm going to put the rest of these in the fridge so they'll stay nice and fresh, and then I'll have Thepla ready for another meal. Back over to my hot tawa, I'm going to slap down my first Thepla and cook this until I start to see some bubbles forming, in which case I'm going to flip it over, add a generous drizzle of oil, and then flip it over again and add oil to the other side and keep checking it until it gets some dark brown spots. Once it looks like this on both sides, I'll add it to a roti box and it's ready to eat. We are back and the cooking is done. While I was rolling and cooking those Thepla, I also put together a mug of elaichi chai. I'm going to enjoy that with these. And here they are. Lauki Thepla. So let's give it a quick smell. It smells slightly oily, and then you've got that sort of herby smell from all of the seeds and all of the spices that went into it. And I love the sort of softness that it's got. And it's also slightly crunchy because it's been cooked in oil. So let's go in for a bit of a taste. Even without any raita, this is absolutely delicious, and the great thing is I've got so much more left, so I'm going to be enjoying Thepla for a while. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, and if you want to see what dishes I get up to next time, please subscribe. Bye for now.